Is it on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Hedinger, and I'm president of the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area. We are going to start because it's 7 o'clock, but we are waiting for the name placards to be made, the tent cards. So there will be a slight interruption as soon as they're ready. Okay, sorry. As I said, I'm Nancy Hedinger, president of the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area, and I'm pleased to welcome you to our candidates forum for the Parsippany Troy Hills Township Board of Education. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Empowering voters, defending democracy is our message. Elections and voting are core concerns for the League. We are committed to providing fact-based information about the issues and positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. We envision a democracy where everyone has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. The League of Women Voters never supports or opposes candidates for office or political parties. Any use of the League name or footage from this debate in campaign materials or advertising of any kind, including internet, social media, cable, or television, is not authorized by the League of Women Voters. Membership in the League is open to people 16 years and older of all gender identities. With 100 years of experience, the League is one of America's oldest and most trusted civic nonprofit organizations. And we'd love to add Parsippany Troy Hills to that list of member leagues. Partnering with the League in presenting this forum, we welcome the Parsippany Hills Women's Club and thank Marilyn Marion for working with us. Marilyn, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, and welcome to Parsippany's Board of Education Candidates Night. I'm Marilyn Marion, co-president, as I was announced, and my other half is sitting right here in the front row, and her name is also Marilyn, so we're known as the Marilyns. The Women's Club is a non-political, non-sectarian organization whose mission is to provide a common meeting ground which brings together the women of the community for fellowship and service and to take appropriate action in the endeavors which have for their objections the educational, cultural, and civic betterment of the community. I just want to take this time to thank you all for coming, and I hope it's successful for everybody here. Thank you.
Thanks, Marilyn. We're grateful for the nonpartisan participation of the Women's Club and look forward to continuing our work together. We encourage everyone to go to vote411.org. It's a one-stop site for information on all aspects of voting in New Jersey, with information about all candidates up and down the ballot, from Board of Education up through federal Congress representation right now. Please visit our website, LWV Morris Area, and also visit the New Jersey State League website, lwvnj.org, which addresses the latest in voting concerns, such as same-day voter registration and fair districts. All forums conducted by New Jersey leagues can be viewed on the New Jersey website, lwvnj.org, and on vote411.org. This forum is being live streamed on the Morristown Area League YouTube channel and will be available there for viewing afterwards. At this time, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Louise Murray. Louise is a League of Women Voters trained moderator who is not from this voting district. She will introduce the candidates and outline the format for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. I love doing this. This is the heart and soul of the League. We thank the candidates for agreeing to participate and you, the public, to come out. And we're also grateful for the video. You can watch this or tell your friends that this will be posted on the League's YouTube channel. As Nancy said, I am not from Parsippany, and that's a deliberate decision by the league because we want to be nonpartisan, and invariably I may make a mistake. I often do. And so by my being from outside the Parsippany Troy Hills, I can't be accused of favoring one candidate to the other because I just met you all tonight. But on the other hand, I ask your forgiveness if I mispronounce an acronym as I read the questions, because I'm not from here, and usually, sometimes that comes up. Our format for tonight is as follows. Each of the 7 candidates will have 90 seconds to introduce themselves and with opening remarks. Then we will have questions from the audience. 2 questions came in on our social media platforms, and we've been collecting them with the cooperation of the Women's Club of Parsippany Troy Hills. So we'll go through as many as possible. Shortly before, we're starting at 7, around 8 o'clock, we'll conclude the question and answer period, and then we will have closing remark of 1 minute from each of the candidates. We'll begin the program with the person with the last name closest in the alphabet to A, that's Mr. Bakti-Lala, and move down the line. We'll conclude our program with Ms. Von Aiken beginning, and we'll go down the line. And for the opening question, we will start right smack in the middle with the 4th candidate, Ms. Faris. So you'll begin that there. For each of our timed responses from the candidates, we have 2 very essential people here. Diane Holland, who is our timekeeper, and Nancy Hedinger is serving as her backup. Diane Holland will hold up a yellow card when the candidate has 30 seconds remaining in their time, and then a red card at conclusion. As moderator, I will then allow the candidate to finish a simple sentence, not a long compound sentence, but a simple sentence, and then we'll move on in the program. So we'll begin with the 90-second opening remarks, and we'll begin with Mr. Bakti-Lala.
Thank you. Thank you. Once again, my name is Falgun Bakti-Lala, and I would like to thank Parsippany Troy Hill Township community and the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to be here. Again, my wife Hetal and I have been living in Parsippany since 2009. We are raising a beautiful family here at Parsippany. We have 2 9-years-old, and they go to Lake Parsippany Elementary School. I graduated from a New Jersey Institute of Technology, earning Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. I'm also a licensed professional electrical engineer in the state of New Jersey. As a professional engineer, I practice engineering principles and ethics rules in a daily professional life. Thanks to my data analysis and leadership skills, I fully relate to the complex education system. I'm running for Board of Education because I have vision for education excellence for all students. Districts must have a robust STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics program for all students and prepare for them future opportunities. My top priority is work with the parents and teachers to improve students' achievement in public school. With my STEM background and professional leadership experience, I would like to work with my fellow board members and superintendent achieve the following goals for our school system. Help students to gain pandemic-era lesson losses. Implement the robust STEM program for all students.
Thank you. You can conclude later. And now Mr. Joffo.
Thank you. My name is Andy Joffo. I've lived in Parsippany for 23 years with my wife Nancy, 2 children that went through the Parsippany school system. I've been on the Board of Education. This is my 15th year, running for my 6th term. And if you know anything about how boards function, it's a majority that gets to set policy for the district. So it's important to have like-minded individuals on the board. That's why I'm running with Yvonne Faris and Jack Raya for the Board of Education this year. There are 4 key areas that we want to focus on. We believe student safety, both physical and emotional, are important. And I think the board has done a decent job over the years hardening schools and putting in safety protocols for physical safety. But I do see that the emotional well-being of children is under attack, mainly from forces outside of this community. We also want to focus on student achievement. We believe that the pandemic, where students were forced to have remote learning for a year and a half, caused grave detriment. We believe in fiscal responsibility. The Board of Education has implemented a 2% or lower tax levy increase every year on the community. And this one we've added, and that's protecting parental rights. We think the federal government and the state government is overreaching their role as a governing body, and we believe parents need to parent and teachers need to teach, and that line's been crossed. So that's why I'm running. That's why I'm running with the 2 individuals I mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Faris. I'm sorry, Ms. Kogan. There we go. Mistake 1. Okay.
Thanks. Good evening, and thank you to the Morristown Area League of Voters for hosting this event. My name is Allison.
We need to speak in. Yeah, that's
Sorry.
why I'm holding mine. Yeah.
My name is Allison Kogan, and I am glad to be here tonight to talk about my intention to continue my service on the Parsippany Board of Ed. I'd like to start with a little bit about myself and my history on the board. My husband, Justin, and I moved here to Parsippany with our 5 young children about 15 years ago. While we didn't move to Parsippany solely for the schools, that was definitely a big part of the decision. After moving here, I started volunteering in the elementary schools and with the PTA and started attending Board of Education meetings. At those meetings, I got to see how the board members work together to affect policy and the direction of the schools. I originally ran because I thought I could make a positive impact, and I continue to feel that way. Education in general and our district are constantly evolving, and keeping up with the changes takes a lot of effort. Ensuring that all members of the board can work together and are focused on the best public education for all students is critical. I've been on the board for the past 9 years, and I am proud to say that many positive changes have been made over those years for all types of students. There's always more work to be done. One of my priorities, if elected, would be the safety of students and the staff. This includes physical safety along with emotional well-being and the sense of community. I look forward to answering questions tonight and appreciate everyone who has taken the time to be here or watch online. Thank you.
Good. Ms. Faris.
Hi, good evening. My name is Yvonne Faris. It's a privilege for me to be a candidate for the Board of Education. I prepared a statement, but it was too long for me, and I prepared it was too long, so it was very hard to cut it short. So I'm going to go for the things that concern me the most, and that's the reason that I'm here. So I have to read it because I don't want to miss anything. In 2020, the State Board of Education approved the New Jersey Revised Sex Education Standard called New Jersey Student Learning Standard and Comprehensive Health and Physical Education. While children were attending visual learning, people were unable to offer public comments or input. At a recent meeting, the governor directed the State Department of Education to review the sex education standards adopted in 2020 and set to take effect this fall. This is a concern of many New Jersey parents, as mine, because it requires the introduction of explicit sex material to all students from 2nd grade and up. Parents should opt in or out of these classes for their children. Parents are the ones that have to make decisions in this matter, not the state. Parents want children to keep their minds clear so they can learn
Thank you.
what they're supposed to learn.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Raya.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's debate. My name is Jack Raya. I grew up in Parsippany and attended Littleton, Brooklawn, and Parsippany Hills High School. My wife, Darlene, and I have been married for 21 years and the first 15 on Long Island. We moved back to Parsippany in 2016. We have 2 sons, Kyle and JC. I no longer have children in the school district, but I'm still an interested parent. Andy, Yvonne, and I are endorsed by Moms for Liberty in Morris County. I'm a CPA and earned an MBA from Seton Hall in Finance and International Business. I'm a senior financial executive for a private firm in New York City that has presence on 4 continents. I was chief financial officer there for 18 years, and after completing a strategic transaction, I remained with the company in the role of group treasurer. I graduated from Muhlenberg College in 1983, majoring in accounting and business. The Muhlenberg College 1980 football team, of which I was a member, was enshrined in the school's Hall of Fame in 2016. I taught corporate finance at Seton Hall and Caldwell College, teaching at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. I've completed 4 marathons, including 3 New York City marathons and 8 half marathons. In addition, in 2012, I took an executive education class at Harvard Business School called Driving Corporate Performance. As a result of all of this, I bring an unusual skill set to the board if I'm lucky enough to be elected. I'm a traditionalist and a strong proponent of parents' rights.
Thank you. Ms. Chappelle.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this event, our audience for attending and listening with open minds, and my fellow running constituents for participating. I am Michelle Chappelle, and my husband and I have been proud residents of Parsippany for 21 years. My daughter is a junior at Parsippany High School after attending 2 excellent Parsippany schools. I'm a longtime Girl Scout leader and service unit sales coordinator. I have been coaching, mentoring, and supporting youth for over 30 years. I am an active and supportive parent through our PTA, PTSA, classes, clubs, and sports. With over 28 years of finance, I have the knowledge and skill to examine and develop our fiscal needs and plans. One of the biggest compliments I've ever received is that I am genuine, so know that what you see is what you're going to get. My husband would tell you that I have a type A personality. This means that I am motivated, organized, with a strong attention to detail, and driven to get things done. Or put another way, I am the type of person who will do what it takes to ensure that we deliver what's necessary in the best interest of our students. I am prepared, willing, able, and eager to do what's needed to take Parsippany schools, students, and teachers forward in the positive direction that we need to move in. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Von Aiken.
Good evening. My name is Kendra Von Aiken, and I'm running for re-election to the Parsippany Board of Education. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Parsippany Women's Club for putting this evening together. My family moved to Parsippany 7 years ago. We were looking for a yard to let our kids and dog play in, a friendly, diverse community, and great schools. Boy, did we hit the jackpot. My husband, John, and I have been very active in the community. Our kids are 14 and 9 years old and attend Parsippany High and North Vale Elementary. I am personally invested in the success of our school district. In my job, I work with clients to help them solve their business problems by using technology. I am an out-of-the-box thinker and pride myself in listening carefully to what someone is telling me before coming up with a solution. This applies to board business as well. Many issues come to me and many decisions are made by the administration. I need to think them through and determine if I feel any change needs to be made and then discuss it with the other 8 board members. Most importantly, I have and will continue to ensure that I am considering every student in every vote I make, not just those that think like me. After all, it is part of the oath I took in January of 2020 when I was sworn into this office. I have been proud to serve for the past 3 years and feel there is so much more to do, so I ask for you to elect me for another 3 years. I come tonight to share who I am as a community member and board member. I hope to gain your vote to continue serving this district in such an important role. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our introductions, and now we'll have a slight pause while we provide each candidate with a tent card identifying himself or herself.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Printers tend to have quirks, so we are grateful for Parsippany High School for helping us out.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, and now I will ask the first question that came to the League of Women Voters on our social media platform. And as I mentioned, Ms. Faris will be the first to answer, and then we'll proceed down to Mr. Raya and come around. Okay. And so, Ms. Reese, this is the question. What is your position on the inclusion of gender issues in our school's curricula, particularly in the elementary schools? And you have 1 minute.
Okay, as I believe in Martin Luther King, I think that everyone should have a respect for anybody that goes to school. And it doesn't matter of the color of their skin, their gender, and that's what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Raya.
I stand in strong opposition to gender studies at the elementary school level. There's no reason for that to be taught to first, second, and third graders. And I'm finding that some of the things that are being taught to children, not necessarily in Parsippany, but in other school districts, are ways to confuse children and just create to create problems in the future. So again, I am strongly opposed to gender studies at the elementary level.
Ms. Chappelle.
I think gender and other sensitive topics in curriculum is important for us to consider. Our world is ever-changing, and we would be doing a disservice to our students if we did not change the curriculum along with it. Our schools have a duty to help our children grow and evolve. At the same time, we're obligated to protect them, keep them safe from known threats and developing dangers. With the new issues which have arisen, we have and should continue to consult professionals to create fact-based and age-appropriate curriculum. We should partner with educators to shape messaging to what is relevant and on point, covering only what is absolutely necessary. We should be keeping parents engaged in the development of such curriculum through surveys, questions, answer periods, and other methods. And finally, give parents the opportunity to opt out if they find that is the best option for their family. And this is what we do today. Thank you.
Ms. Von Aiken.
So I'm on the Teaching and Learning Committee. I got a chance to read through all the curriculum, grades K through 5 and beyond. I feel that, one, our administration did a phenomenal job in making sure that everything was age appropriate through all of the health and physical education standards, which the gender issues fall under. I trust our teachers. One, they don't want to teach anything extra. They don't want to go beyond the scope of what they need to as part of what is in the curriculum. And I think that it's also really important that kids understand that there are people out there that are different than them. Not everything is the same as what they are and what is in their own household. And I think it's really important to teach them that there are differences around them and keep it very age appropriate.
Mr. Bactara.
It's a really good question. At the elementary level, the kids are very small and their minds are not fully ready to understand the complex gender issue. I think we need to do is we need to consult the professionals in this area and then put it together a plan and then wed it through and run it to the teachers and the staff and then have the professionals educate and assist us to put it together a plan that allow us to educate the young minds and prepare for them for that and gender identity, gender issues at that elementary level school.
Mr. Joffo.
Thank you. Certainly is a hot button question recently. Let me ask this question. Would you provide a course of study to second graders in molecular biology? Probably not, because they're probably not mentally prepared or ready for that kind of material. So the answer to the question on gender in the lower elementary grades is that content and curriculum need to be age and grade levels appropriate. I do not believe that these learning standards are age and grade level appropriate. I think they are far from that. And the state has made it just about impossible to opt out because they want this information to be included in all areas of curriculum, not just a separate module of study. So even when parents don't agree with it, they're limited in what they can do. So no, I don't believe that's appropriate for the younger grade levels as it's currently written. Thank you.
Ms. Kogan.
Yes, thank you. I do believe there are age-appropriate ways to discuss gender with respect to all individuals and obviously, you know, with appropriate parent input. I think all students need to feel represented and need to know that, you know, there are differences in everybody and that that's fine. As a former preschool director, I have worked with a lot of young children and they are very observant. They are very aware, and if they are given factual words about just basic feelings, it can be age appropriate, feeling happy, feeling sad. Those are the type of things that just need to be discussed in an age appropriate manner. And I do agree with Mrs. Von Aiken that our district has done a very good job of making sure that the only discussions that are needed are the ones that are mandated and are at the appropriate age levels. Thank you.
Okay. Our second question will begin with Mr. Raya. And the question is, what will you do to keep property taxes from rising? Or
We don't really.
The school, really should be rephrased. What will you do to keep the school budget from rising? That's what you have control over.
Well, one of the biggest components of the school budget is employees, and we have to see that employee expenses are targeted to educating children. I think the amount of administrative expenses may be something to look at as a way to cut. I do think that there should be, you know, on the other end of the coin, I think there should be more merit-based compensation for good performance, but that could be offset with some review of administrative positions for cuts. We probably don't need as many as there are.
Okay, thank you. Next, Mr. Pell.
As Mr. Raya mentioned, there are a number of things that we need to do and are going to require funding. There are other things that are coming up that we're also going to need to do, like building out our schools and our resources in order to accommodate new students that we're going to have because of the building we're doing in town. I think it's going to take careful consideration to assess all of these different things and make sure that we're allocating funding to the right things. Hopefully, we'll be able to build out a plan which will let the costs of these different projects happen over time rather than all at once, so we can spread them out rather than taking one massive tax hit. We can hopefully build it into our budget rather than having to have the taxpayer have to take on the additional cost.
Ms. Von Aiken.
Piggybacking off of what Ms. Chappelle said, also as part of the Finance Committee, I'm heavily involved in the budget process. I've gotten to learn kind of what that looks like. We obviously are capped at 2% increase each year in the budget. Originally, I thought, no, we should do a 0%. And when it was explained to me, if we do that, we have less money the next year for all the increases. Health insurance goes up 7 to 14% a year. Sometimes we get lucky. And so we need that 2% in order to hit it. We also have done a phenomenal job at managing budget, so we are not constantly going to the town for referendums and other additional costs.
Ms. Von Aiken. Your turn.
She just
Just fine.
Oh, you've just. See, I'm trying to get the next question. Here you go.
Okay. School budget, it's a very important topic, and I think it's very important because we all pay a lot of property tax, and it's every year we've seen a lot of increase in our property tax, and most of the money that goes to the school. But at the same time, the teachers are they are main trust or main beam of that school, and then all the students need the good teachers and their support. We also want to make sure that we retain the teacher and hire more teachers to support them. At the same time, we have to be very financially responsible for our budget. So what we need to do is eliminate wasteful spending from our budget, and then the top thing I can think of it is the technology. We can look at it most of the money we spend on the technology that can be cut back, and then we can be more frugal with the taxpayer money. And then I'll work with my board member and the superintendent to get that job done.
Okay. Mr. Joffo.
Thank you. So, giving props to Allison and to Kendra, who both serve on the Finance Committee of the board, we do painstakingly review the budget every year. I am a fiscal conservative. I don't want to increase property taxes. However, we do have a school district to run, and that school district encompasses 14 buildings, 7,000 kids, over 1,500 staff, and it requires care and feeding. And we have been, I think, very judicious in our approach to things like preventative maintenance. We've made sure that our buildings are functioning so we don't have surprise big repairs. The things that worry me currently is the hyperinflation world that we're currently in. We have not seen anything like this in decades, and we have to find a way to overcome that. I also am concerned about residential development in town. Our demographers' studies indicate up to 1,000 new students over the next several years. So those two things will definitely have an impact to the budget. Thank you.
Yes. Ms. Kogan.
Thank you. Yeah, as I am the chairperson of the Finance Committee on the Board of Education right now, so there isn't too much that I can add that Mrs. Von Aiken and Mr. Joffo haven't already talked about. We do try very hard to make sure we are minimizing the tax impact while still maintaining the programs that everybody expects in our town and wants in our town. And we also have wonderful staff that need to be paid and need to be compensated fairly for the hard work that they are doing. And that really, takes money. Just like in every household budget, there's usually things that you would like to have and you want to have, and there's things that you need to have. And so obviously you have to do the needs before you get to all the wants. And, we are, on the board, we are very conscientious about trying to spend it in the best way possible for the entire district.
And Ms. Faris.
Thank you. It is very difficult because we are going through very difficulties financially as the economy is not very good. So I believe that it's always a way to get around and try to use different strategies to come up to better results. But it's very difficult. So maybe set priorities a different way, and that might work. I'm not on the board, so I don't know what's going on there. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have our third question, which continues in the fiscal arena. And we'll begin with Ms. Chappelle. The district recently settled a contract with the teachers. How do you feel about the settlement, and what, if anything, would you change?
So I'm glad that we were able to come to an agreement. I think, as many of us have already said tonight, our teachers are incredibly important, and they are wonderful in so many different ways. They are what makes our schools so great. I'm hopeful that over time we could do better for our teachers and make sure that they're accommodated for everything that they do for our students.
Ms. Von Aiken.
So I have a lot of details about the contract negotiations because I was on that committee. I obviously can't share a lot of that. It was a long process. There's a lot of things that I wish we could do a little bit differently, a little bit better. But in the end, we came to an agreement, I feel, that was fair on both sides. I look forward to continuing to work with the teachers union and come up with additional points on the next round.
Okay. Thank you. And now to you.
Thank you. So about the teacher, and then there's labor settlements. Since I'm not on a board, I don't have great detail on the board settlements and the labor, but would like to add on to it. As a teacher is a very important part of the school system, and they are very important for our children's education. If I be elected as a board member, what I would like to work with as a union and make sure we have a great system where we can work with the both parties as a taxpayer and then the teacher. We agreed on and then continuously support their education needs, and then also their continuous education for them, and their pension and their all benefits, and make sure we keep up to date and help them survive this financial hardship, and then make sure that we are also responsible with our taxpayers, so we don't go over the budget with that.
Mr. Joffo.
Thank you. I have friends and relatives who are in the classroom, and when they tell me stories, sometimes the stories about what the kids do make me laugh and they're funny. Other things they say really want to make me cry. And there's two things I always take away from that is, first, I could never be a teacher. I don't have the fortitude to do that. And the second is, thank God we have people who do, because they make a tremendous amount of difference in the lives of thousands of children. The last 2 years have been hell for teachers. There's been no doubt about that. When it comes to the economics, look, everyone deserves a fair wage for the work that they do. I think in the state, boards are handcuffed in a lot of ways about how they can reach equitable contracts with the education associations. So I would say that the contract that was recently settled was probably the best that could happen in light of what we're working with.
Thank you. Ms. Cogan.
Yes, I was also on the negotiations committee, so I don't, obviously there were things that we wished could have gone differently, but in true negotiating fashion, neither side got everything that they wanted, which is exactly what happens in negotiations. I agree with Mr. Joffo. I do think the contract was fair, and there's actually very little that we can negotiate, which makes it even more difficult. And then within, trying to maintain the budget and stay within the budget, there, is very little wiggle room that we have. So there is nothing large that I wish we would have gotten differently in that contract.
Ms. Verhees.
I am glad that was a common agreement between the two parties, because the teachers, they are great teachers in Parsippany, I say, because my two kids went to Parsippany schools, and I have a grandkid that is going to elementary school, and I've always been very happy with the teachers in school, so they really do a great job. Thank you.
And Mr. Raya.
I can empathize with the board's efforts on negotiating the budget. There are many conflicting interests, and there's only so much that they are able to do. And I am sure that they did the best they could to get the best possible outcome. It could not have been an easy task, and I'm sure it's not an easy task every year.
Okay. And now we'll have our fourth question, and that will begin with Ms. Von Aiken. Parsippany is known as a district that responds well to the educational needs of our special needs students. Please describe in as much detail as possible the specific programs you feel would meet the needs of our special students.
Thank you. I don't have direct experience with the special needs services in our district, but I have friends that use them, and I know as a board member about the programs. We have a very strong preschool program, and I know that it makes a positive impact to those that need those services. And I'm excited that we're expanding that program to be able to support more students in the program over the coming years through classroom expansion. There are additional programs at the elementary and high school level as well. I feel that they support the students that need them, and I'm really grateful that those programs are there for those students.
Thank you. And now to Mr. Lala.
Thank you. So we've been living in Parsippany since 2009, but I have friends who has children and who's in a special need program, and I think Parsippany does a really good job with the special needs students. And I think what we could add on is a social emotional program and some of the support program where we support their need and then emotional needs there. So I think that we could add on to it, but other than that, I think Parsippany District does really good job with the special need program.
Mr. Joffo.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, this is my 15th year on the board, and it's always been a conscious effort for the board, working with the administration, to have a very robust special education program in town. Starting with our child study teams, groups of individuals that are multidisciplinary who will assist in a child in the development of an individual education program or a 504 plan. Paraprofessionals who are one-to-one aides in the classroom do a tremendous job working with general ed and special education teachers. We have adopted a philosophy of inclusion, which means we try to take special education students and where practical, immerse them in general education classrooms so that they're not separated from the general population. And we have been expanding. We call it disabled pre-K. It's a weird term, but it's a pre-K program for special needs youngsters. So that program continues to flourish, and we're going to continue to invest in that and in new classrooms and new teachers. So I think Parsippany does a tremendous job in its special education work.
Ms. Cogan.
Yes, thank you. In addition to what Mrs. Von Aiken and Mr. Joffo said about pre-K, as the parent of 2 special needs children, I have to say that I have seen a lot of the programs at every level, and Parsippany really is doing a very good job. My favorite right now is the life skills program at the high school, because it is critically important that all students exit school being able to be a productive member of society to the best extent possible. And I truly believe that Parsippany is helping students learn the skills necessary to graduate, and it's important that we recognize that all students have abilities, and we try to bring out the best in them. Thanks.
And Ms. Faris.
I cannot say more about Parsippany's education. I feel like they always in the Board of Education in Parsippany. I don't know much about what programs there is in the school, but in reference to people I know with children that have to be in that kind of programs, people are just very content what's going on and how teachers and everybody will help them to survive the challenge that they have. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Raya.
Well, I don't have much detail on specifics, but my impression from a number of different sources is that a very high priority is placed on special needs, and that's a kudos to the board over the years in maintaining that.
And Ms. Chappelle.
Thank you. So special needs programs are important because they give students who need them the opportunity to get a quality education that's in line with their special needs. We've developed a strong set of 9 different special programs through collaboration with professionals and advisors and consulting with other districts. But this doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement. Of course, the plans must change over time as the needs of our students change. I think some things to highlight are, right now we have in-class support across 13 of our 14 schools and resource centers in 11 of our schools, both very impressive support systems, but perhaps could be expanded. To me, I wanted to also highlight what Ms. Cogan mentioned around the transition program that supports students to be prepared for the world beyond post-secondary education and employment. It's currently provided here at Parsippany High School, but I would like to see it at the Hills High School as well for those students who already face multiple factors, but allowing them to remain in their home school environment with their friends and teachers they know and get support they need to go on to be successful members of the community is very important.
Thank you. Okay, and now we'll begin with you, Mr. Bacteria. Okay. Can you articulate what the values of diversity and inclusion are for the 21st century education?
Okay, diversity and inclusion. It's like America is a melting pot, and diversity and inclusion. It's a threaded to an American society, and it's there every day. And we at Parsippany, if you see it, we have a lot of diverse community in our town, and it's very important to teach students how to integrate in society and then get part of the community. And I think Parsippany does really good job including all the students. Also, just the diversity is not about the race, gender, but it's also about the age, also disability. All that needs to be taught, and our Parsippany teachers do really good job educating students and getting ready for them for the college and going for the society. So I think it's very good job in the Parsippany School District, and then on diversity and inclusion.
Thank you. Mr. Joffo.
Thank you for the question. So I believe that one of the strengths that Parsippany has is the diversity of its community. Just look at the dais here. There's different ethnicities, different sexes, and I think that's representative of the entire community. And when I think about our Indian community, which is about 30% of the town, our growing Hispanic community, I believe that the schools have done a tremendous job in embracing and welcoming those cultures. We have ESL programs so that we can get students up to speed in the English language so that they're better able to learn. As someone referenced earlier, you know, the 1963 Martin Luther King speech about judging people by the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. I think Parsippany does a very good job in that. Where I draw the line, though, is when certain groups are marginalized at the expense of others. And I've made comments about certain books and novels put forth to the Board of Education for inclusion in middle school and high school reading programs that I thought were completely divisive. And we need to watch that very closely.
Ms. Kogan.
Thank you. I think the value of diversity and inclusion for all is showing kids that everyone is different, everyone has value, and that they can see themselves represented in the curriculum, in the books that they read, in the projects that they have. And the only way that that happens is if the entire community values and celebrates all of the differences. And I truly believe that when kids can see themselves in the things that they are learning, that they are more invested and that they are more interested in what they are learning.
Ms. Reese.
Diversity inclusion is a very good question because Parsippany, the whole community of Parsippany is great when it comes to diversity because we are of all different backgrounds and everybody seems content and the children are well adjusted to see people that are not the same as they are. So it's in inclusion, everybody in schools, every teachers include everybody in their projects. So there is no diversity that children can notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Raya.
To me, diversity of thought, as Andy alluded to, is much more important than physical diversity. As far as inclusion, it comes from highlighting what we have in common versus our differences, physical or otherwise. And I also like what Andy said about Martin Luther King's content of character versus the color of our skin. That's what we need to get to. And I think we have gone to as a society in a large way. So we have become a much more inclusive society, which is a great thing.
Ms. Chappelle?
The differences of our town are what makes us great, and it makes me very proud to know that our school has supported all of the diversity that our students have to offer. And by supporting them here, we are equipping them to be prepared to go out into society and to get along with other people. And to the point around diversity and the impact it has on thought and critical thinking and innovation, diversity is essential to have those different perspectives, to understand what options we have, appreciate what somebody else has to offer, because what you might know or what I might know may be entirely different and might be bringing out new ideas that can take us and move us forward. So diversity is essential, and I'm very proud of the way we've been handling it so far.
As I said earlier, I feel that kids should learn that there are different people all around them and celebrate those differences. It's one of the reasons that my husband and I moved here 7 years ago. I feel that teaching diversity and inclusion is expanding these kids' minds about other cultures, about other thoughts. As Mr. Raya said, it's not just about culture or the color of your skin or your gender. It's about a lot of things. It's really everything around us. And ultimately preparing students for the future, where they will go to college or a trade school or go straight to work. And they're going to be around people from all over the place. And ultimately, I feel that teaching diversity and inclusion spreads kindness, and that's really important.
And Ms. Von Aiken?
I just went.
Oh, good Lord, you know, you're so hard to see. I'm sorry.
All the way over
There
here.
you go. And
I'll
from
back
my
up next
angle,
time.
my apologies. Oh, boy. All right. Now, we have a follow-up here. Okay. Okay, and this will go first to Mr. Joffo, and it's a follow-up to our diversity and inclusion theme. Do you think that the board has a role in denying access to students for certain books? Do you want me to rephrase that?
Sure.
Okay. Do you think the board has a role in voting no to allow high school students access to certain books?
Yes, I absolutely do. And here's why. When you look at the books that are put forth to the board for consideration, and I've done this for the last 2 years, those books are 99% written by progressive authors. There's simply no diversity of thought in the ideology of the authors who are writing the material. And I believe that if we're going to really talk about diversity, and not just color, not just ethnic background, we need to talk about diversity of thought. So I was invited by the superintendent to meet with the person who had the committee that vetted what books got put forth to middle and high schoolers. And she was very forthcoming with me. She said, we are making a hard left turn. We are consciously going more progressive. We don't believe that the books that kids have been reading for the past several decades are appropriate anymore. And we're making a hard left turn. Never discussed that with the board. So yeah, when I see those kinds of titles come before us that are anti-white, anti-police, anti-American, yeah, I'm going to vote no on them.
Ms. Cogan.
I believe that public education is for all students, and there should be books in the library that represent all students. And I think in the past that has not happened at all, and I believe that we have a lot of catching up to do to make sure that there are books that represent everybody. I don't believe at this point that there are specific curriculums that have been adjusted in any fashion. At this point, these are all library, media, free choice books. And the whole point of free choice books is that students should have the ability to read what they want to read, especially at the high school level, and they should be available to all students.
Now, we are talking about diversity. Now, everything's out the window now, because if we are talking about diversity and inclusion now, we are having books that are not good for the children, and that's the way that the board that have to control in that should always vote in no. Thank you.
Mr. Raya.
I think students would be better served with a choice of books that's more traditional. A lot of the classics, they're classics because they've stood the test of time. But here's a litmus test for inclusion of books in the library. If somebody sits here and reads out of a book and half of the audience is embarrassed, then maybe we shouldn't be letting our elementary school children read those books. Thank you.
Ms. Chappelle.
I do not think that the Board of Ed should be restricting access to books. I think that access to a variety of topics is important. It helps to build awareness and appreciation for the differences across society and opens their minds to critical thinking, problem solving, and how to work with others. In turn, this helps to prepare our students to be contributing members in this great, huge, diverse world that we live in. And where there might be sensitive topics, I appreciate the concern and the points that are being raised. Parents should be encouraged to read the books along with their children, and guides should be made available to parents so that they're equipped to discuss the books with their children as they read them, if there's any concerns.
So, as a board member, we have a role and a right to say no to anything that comes before us. However, as a member of the Teaching and Learning Committee, I've had the opportunity to read many of these books, as many as I can, before they are brought to the board for a full vote. I learn about the course and curriculum that the book is going to support and hear from the supervisors that are working with their staff to select these books. I am frustrated by many of my fellow board members that vote no on the books, which for the public are not required reading. These are book club books that are selected by students to read in a small group and discuss with a teacher guiding the conversation. To date, there has not been any discussion about the no vote, nor has any board member reached out to me ahead of time, or any of the other committee members, to discuss the books that they have concerns about. I feel that there are decisions being made without doing proper research.
Mr. Chalala.
Okay, so if I be a board member, I would not be policing what student reads and should not read. I should not be reading out the books for the students, what they read or not. It should be an open library for students to pick. And in this day of age, in a social media, and then you could get a book on Amazon or anywhere where the students have access to a vast variety of all these resources. So I think by limiting a book in a school or library would not stop them from accessing those books. I think it's more be conversation with the teacher or a group study or with the parents, and they should making those decisions what their child reads, not the board member decides.
Ms. Kogan will start her response first. Which elementary schools do you think will be affected most by the major residential developments that are in the works here in Parsippany? What do you think could be done to address this anticipated increase?
Yes, that's the influx of students that will be coming from the new developments is definitely one of the larger issues that will affect the board in the coming years. And I think that the Parsippany Hills side at this point has more developments going up on that side, so the elementary schools on that side of town, particularly Mount Tabor and Littleton, are probably going to be the most affected. I know as a board, we have been discussing this already. It is not a big surprise. We are making plans and thinking through how to best do this without affecting the taxpayers and the students to the best degree possible. Obviously, there are going to be some effects. So I think part of the role of the board is going to be to have the conversations on how to address that, and obviously the more people with differing views to get the information out will be the most helpful.
Yeah, that's a big problem that we are crossing in Morris County. I have been seeing a lot of constructions going on, and I think for people that live in the county, we should go to different meetings that you can have your voice here, because we have to stop this development in this town. So now we are crossing with very too many problems now, with so many more development so I suggest that we should go to the town hall and go to the meetings and try to stop all these constructions everywhere, because we are going to have big problems. So it's probably necessary to make all different plans for what is coming. Thank you.
Mr. Raya.
It's interesting because we have the same road system now that we had when I was like in grammar school, 50 years ago. If we do have additional developments coming into town, and I'm not quite sure where they are going to be, there will have to be adjustments, and they will be costly. But there are some low-cost things that can be done. I noticed today at Littleton School, the parents driving in to drop off their kids, it's usually like a mess in the morning, about 10 to 9 to 9 o'clock. And this morning, they had pulled in and went around in the parking lot and dropped off their kids, and it just seemed to flow much better. So maybe there are some simpler solutions to, any oncoming increase in traffic.
Ms. Chappelle.
So I also understood that it was Littleton that was going to be one of the most impacted schools, as Ms. Cogan said. And I think that there's already some things that are in development for plans that need to change there. I would highlight also that we're seeing this across all of our schools, right? So even here in the high school, I know that classes are much larger than what they have been historically. So this isn't something that's just going to impact elementary schools. We're going to have to plan for all of our schools to maintain these changes. I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's important that we think about how to do this in an economical and reasonable way for our taxpayers. They can't take the hit of all of this at once. Hopefully, we can come up with changes that can be broken down over time to spread out the costs that hopefully we can build into the budget as it is, rather than having to ask for anything else.
Ms. Von Aiken.
So in looking at the demographic study that the board got and the location of the new developments, most of the impact will be on the west side, as others have said, which would impact East Lake, Littleton, possibly Lake Parsippany, maybe Mount Tabor, and in addition, of course, Brooklawn Middle School and Parsippany Hills High School. While we can't know the exact number and mix of students in each grade level until the buildings are completed, residents move in and register their students, we can guesstimate based on the timing of the construction and the sizes and quantity of the units. While our administration has already begun taking action and to plan for the expansion, I feel we could be more proactive in planning for additional students. We could put models together for best and worst case scenarios at each grade level in school to determine how we would handle the onset of more students.
Mr. Bakhtarlala.
Okay, so it's town always grows. We can't stop the development coming in, but what we need to do, we can prepare for what's coming our way. So what we need to do is do the studies and then put a different model together and prepare for those additional students and how we can accommodate those. We can go out to different districts where they have seen a major reconstruction, major development coming in. For instance, Monroe. Monroe has been growing a lot. So, and additionally, we should reach out to the state resources where they can assist us to model this and then prepare for this influx of new students. I think we can, if we have time, what we need to do is we rather than getting behind the 8 ball, we should start doing all these studies and put a different model together so we can prepare for the future rather than getting ready for teachers to hire and everybody for that influx. Thank you.
Mr. Joffo.
Thank you. Excuse me. The development will definitely impact the west side of town. The development at Cherry Hill Road, Lanadex Plaza, GlaxoSmithKline, and Route 10 will all impact the elementary, middle, and high schools there. So what's the district to do about that? Well, first you have to know what the size of your problem is, and we did commission a demographer study to understand where the development would be, when the units would be ready, and by the size of the units, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, an estimate of how many students we thought potentially would be there. And we can do a few things to mitigate that. We can't build a new school. It takes a lot of money, can't do it overnight, and you have to have actually the students in place to do that, to be approved by the state, so we can't do that. So in the short term, we will look at things like building additional classrooms to the schools that we have, which we're doing at Littleton currently. We will look at redistricting, because as schools fill up and some may have capacity, we'll have to change where the sending districts are, and if it's large enough, we'll look at a referendum. Thank you.
Okay. This will be our final question, and then we'll go into the summary remarks from each candidate. And Ms. Faris, you'll begin with this just as you did our first question. What will you do to keep the Board of Education operating in a nonpartisan manner?
What do I do to have the Board of Education participate, you said?
Operate in a nonpartisan manner. The question had quite a bit of description that the board has become, this is the description I had, that the board is acting in a partisan way. And school boards, by law, are nonpartisan. We don't run with you don't run as a member of a political party. So the questioner is saying, what will you as a board member do to make sure that the board conducts business in a nonpartisan way?
I think when it's a kind of a conflict everywhere, it's a way to really try to have a better communication so you can have a better results. It happens everywhere, so I think that will be the best way to communicate with each other and think to see what you come up with. Thank you.
Mr. Raya.
Sometimes we have to realize that we're going to disagree with some of our colleagues, and that's fine. And I don't even want to call it tolerate different points of view, because nobody sends a toleration card to anybody. So we understand that we're going to disagree, and we try and find ways that we can maybe find agreement. Look for things that we can agree on before we're disagreeing on everything.
Ms. Chappelle.
So when board members take their code of ethics, they commit to not standing by their own individual perspectives and being open, and being nonpartisan. So to maintain the integrity of the board members are obligated not only to perform for their own individual capacity, but to ensure that they hold each other accountable as well. There should be repercussions for not abiding by this, including up to expulsion from the Board of Education. Finally, I think that the campaign rules should be updated to prevent political groups from recruiting people to run for the Board of Education. Our children cannot be pawns into political or any other ideologies.
Ms. Von Aiken.
My sentiments are very similar to what Ms. Chappelle just shared. When you take your oath on the first meeting in January, you refuse to surrender your independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups, or to use the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends. You are also supposed to confine your board actions to policymaking, planning, and appraisal. It's really important that each board member sticks to what they are sworn in to do, and as Ms. Chappelle said, to hold each other accountable. And maybe there needs to be an amendment to the board bylaws to have some accountability and repercussions if those are not held.
Thank you. Mr. Bakhtarlala.
Okay, as a board member, there should be a nonpartisan. We are here to serve the students and all the students, and we should not be served here serve here any party, any particular party. So I think as a board member, I agree with my fellow candidates too. It should be an amendment where if there is a case where we have a board member which acting in the party lines, I think it should be some precaution about it, and then we should be addressed on the board meetings. But I think the most important job we have as a board member to serve our students and then help them to get better education.
Mr. Joffo.
So I'm going to go in a totally different direction with that question. It seems to me that when progressives get their way and everyone votes yes with them, it's nonpartisan. However, when others question things that are put before them and vote no, it's all of a sudden partisan. And I wonder how that comes to be, because it's not about partisanship for me. My question whenever I vote on something is this in the best interest of the students of this district? And if it's not, I vote no. If it is, I vote yes. It's that simple. We have got to come to grips with the fact that we not only set policy and approve curriculum, but we also have a voice based on our constituents, based on the people who elected us, who have a point of view on how things are taught and what things are taught. And if those things go against what the community wants, I'm going to listen to the community. I believe in home rule in boards of education. I do not believe that the state should set all of the standards all of the time. Thank you.
Ms. Kogan.
Yes, I do believe that questioning items is not considered partisan, and that is not what several of our members have been doing. It is, once we are sitting at the table and conducting board business, we are supposed to be considering what is in the best interest of all of the students in the district, not just the students that think like we do, not just the students of the parents who voted for us, but every student in the district. So in order to do that, you come with your experience and you present what you think might be in the best, and you have to have an open mind to listen to everybody else, and maybe somebody else has a better opinion, a better thought, and you can say, gee, that's a good idea, I hadn't thought of it that way. The only way you can do that is with people with diverse opinions willing to state their mind.
Okay. Going to all take a breath. We've had a very engaging discussion. And now for the 1-minute closing statement from each candidate. We'll begin with Ms. Von Aiken.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share my viewpoints tonight. For the past 3 years, I have sat on the Board of Education, listening to parents, teachers, and staff concerns. I will continue to keep an open ear to current and future concerns. I have read and listened to the news around educational issues, both real and contrived. I sit here with the promise that I will continue to research issues brought to my attention and ensure that I am making educated decisions when it comes to the children and staff of this district. I also promise to remain nonpartisan and keep politics out of board business, as politics has no place in our district, let alone any public school district in this country. As I said in my opening statement, I am here to vote and consider all students in this district. I ask you to vote for me, Kendra Von Aiken, in ballot position 5, to spend another 3 years working hard for the students and staff of our district. Thank you.
Thank you once again to the League of Women Voters for organizing this event. I hope I've made clear my intent to bring our school system, students, and educators forward. The diversity in our town is our biggest strength, as I stated earlier. It's our duty to provide all students with a safe environment where they can receive a robust education and feel represented and supported. Resources are essential to be able to deliver what our students need to be successful in school and beyond. Through careful scrutiny of our budget to provide those resources, we can make best use of our taxpayer dollars. Different views are what bring out the best innovation and progress. Ensuring that the board and all of our partners operate in a respectful, nonpartisan manner will allow us to achieve our potential and deliver for our students, educators, and community. I hope I have earned your consideration to vote for me on row 6 of the ballot on November 8th. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate. You can reach out to me via my personal email, which is on the Vote 411 site and also on the flyer outside in the hallway. Thank you.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring tonight and hosting us. I am running as a parents advocate. I ask you to vote in, I believe it's box 2. But to vote for me for the board. Over the last year, I did run last year and was not successful in being elected. Since then, I have attended a majority of the school board meetings, and I've tried to learn what I could. I will be fiscally responsible. I am a parent's advocate, and ultimately the parents rule. And despite partisanship, you know, we can disagree, but that doesn't mean we can't go out for a drink or something afterwards and still be friends. So I hope with that would be a tradition I would continue. Thank you.
Thank you, the women's voters, for give us the opportunity to stand here or to sit here and talk about what we think about our community, our children, and the schools. And the questions were really good, so give us the opportunity for you to know what we are having in our minds. What I have in my mind, and the reason that I'm here, is what was my opening statement. I'm all for the children. I'm all for the welfare of the children. I regret and I don't like what's going on with the state requirements to have this sexual education for children, which is not very good for young minds to be aware of explicit sexuality. Also, what I said before, I'm just for the children.
Thank
and
you.
All the discussions.
We have the red card, Ms. Renee.
Okay.
Yeah. Ms. Cogan.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been a very informative evening, letting the community know about each candidate. As elected officials, board members have a code of ethics that includes the responsibility to represent every student throughout the district. Members should not exclusively advocate for any specific belief and can only make decisions through a majority vote of the board. Having board members with different perspectives and a willingness to listen is important. Each member should be comfortable contributing their knowledge and past experience and then work together to find solutions that benefit the district as a whole. We have a very diverse district and need board members that appreciate and celebrate our diversity. As a parent of 5 children who have attended Parsippany schools, I know that today's students are faced with challenges that we adults never had to address. Public education is asked to prepare all students for jobs and lives that will most likely look nothing like our own. I have worked together with other board members and, if re-elected, would continue to work with the other members, the community, and the administration. Thank you.
Mr. Joffo.
Thank you, and thanks again to the League of Women Voters and the Parsippany Women's Club. As I mentioned, I'm a 15-year board member, and every decision I've ever made and every vote I've ever cast have been for the students, all of the students, all of the time. I've never sought a different political office, and I've never looked to get personal gain from my role on the board. To recap, as I mentioned in my opening statement, I'm here for the physical and emotional well-being of all students. I think we need to really kickstart student achievement. I'm a fiscal conservative, so we'll continue to be fiscally responsible with our budget, and I've added the protecting parental rights this year because I think parents have a bigger role than public education wants to let on, and their voice needs to be heard. Please vote on November 8th for Jack Raya, myself, and Yvonne Faris. It's lines 1, 2, and 3 on the ballot. So thank you very much. Have a great night.
And Mr. Bakhtarwala.
Okay, once again, I would like to thank Parsippany Troy Hill Township community and League of Women Voters for the opportunity to be here. As I said, I have a technical leadership experience in my work life, and I can apply these leadership skills to the school district. I have vision to provide excellent public education for every current and future students in the Parsippany school districts. I will work to help create the right condition for the excellence to flourish. I'll be honored to be serving as a member of the elected Parsippany School Board. And I'm on ballot box number 7, so vote for Falgun Bakhtarwala. Thank you.
Thank you to the candidates.
Yes, thank you to the candidates, to the Parsippany Hills Women's Club, to Louise Murray, our moderator extraordinaire, our timer, Diane Holland. I'm sorry, Diane Holland. And our volunteers, Debbie McCumber on the video, and Barbara Coopersmith, who put most of this together as our voter service chair. And thank you, the audience, for attending and being active participants in the democratic process. Please share, let everyone you know about the fact that this will be on our YouTube channel and on vote411.org. Remember to make your vote count, and vote in the election on November 8th. The registration deadline, if you're not already registered, is October 18th. Vote by mail ballots are already going out to those voters who applied for them. Early in-person voting will take place between October 29th and November 6th this year. During this time, a limited number of polling locations will be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekdays and Saturdays, and from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. This forum is available for viewing, as I said, on the Morris Area League YouTube channel and on vote401.org. We encourage you to share the link, but remind you that the recording can only be shared in its entirety and may not be used in campaign materials, literature, or advertising of any kind. So thank you again to the candidates, and thank you to the community for coming out. Have a good evening.
Good job. Good job. Good job.
You will make it possible. You really
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hi, ladies. Good job.
Thank you.
Yes, well, you make it possible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, good job. Nice to
Very
meet you in
nice.
person.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That position. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. So we're going to do a picture. Does anyone want to get a picture?